Hello and welcome back. It's 2018. Happy New Year, everyone. If you're new to my channel, I'm Deirdre, and today, in the whole of 2018, is going to be about my new mantra. And my new mantra is that if anybody says, hey, want to play? I'm going to answer, hell yes, because we are going to be surrounded by stuff that is down and evil and bad and depressing. So when you get the moments, when you can, step up and say, yep, I'm going to play. Playtime is good. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to enjoy my life. I think we have to grab it in both hands and say, I'll take that. So here it is, the beginning of 2018, Design Your Life. And that's what we're going to be going through with for the rest of the year, because a well-designed life gives you time for this and includes it as part of your life. So if you would like to follow along as we go through this process through the year, please subscribe, and I'd love to have you aboard. It's going to be all sorts of things really that make it up, but before we start looking at that, the first thing I do every year is to sit down and have a look at the year that's just gone by. Give myself a benchmark. Where am I? And with my psychology training, of course, I have to rate it on a 1 to 10 because it gives you a measure that you can move. It's just not whether it was good or bad. They're sort of locked in. It's how good, how bad. Well, this is what I mean. That if you say rate yourself as a number, 4 out of 10 on something, then by definition, if you crank it up a couple of points in the next year, it's going to be a lot better. And if you do that over the whole of your life, then your whole life changes. So that's my 1 to 10 rating scale. And I do that on 4 questions that I ask myself. So I tend to think of my life as if it were a building. What a surprise, a house. And these are the foundations. You get the foundations right, pretty much everything else follows. And that my life is a series of rooms, and each of these rooms I rate on that 1 to 10 on these questions. So I ask myself, did I feel like I was sort of in charge of my life? Was I running it, or was it a white knuckle roller coaster ride where everybody else got to sort of influence what I was doing? And I don't mean control in a sort of slightly crazy way, but I do mean that if pretty much your life is something that you are making the choices about, it is a lot easier to accept than if you really do believe that you are at the mercy of the whims of others, the winds of fate, as it were. So that's a big one. Then I ask myself, what was I proud of? What would I like to do more of? Was there anything I achieved that I pushed myself on, that I made myself do, that I wasn't happy about at the time, but it had a good outcome? So you're looking at achievements and attitude and the small wins and the big ones. And you think, okay, give yourself a rating on that, and believe me, you want to do more of whatever they were. And the third question is fairly related to that, because it's what could I have done better? How could I have done it better, more to the point, because that gives you concrete steps. If there were areas that I am disappointed with myself, think about how I could have approached it so that it would have been, had a better outcome. But then question number 4 is also then related to that, and it's what should I lighten up on? What should I give myself a break on? And I think that we all can get a bit too serious about things, and believe me, life is going to happen to us whether we are serious or not. And the best laid plans of mice and men, it's going to get us one way or the other. So in some ways you also have to be prepared to say to yourself, look kid, you did okay in the circumstances and on the day. Lighten up, be good to yourself, treat yourself as you would, your best friend to some degree. You say, hey, would you say that to your best friend, this whatever it is you're saying to yourself? No, you wouldn't. You'd be supportive and kind and loving. And so, yeah, and you don't go through life judging your best friend, so stop judging yourself. Lighten up a bit, girl. And that's, so that's why that's in there as a question as well. And I apply this to sort of the major rooms of my life. I think of these sort of as having rooms. Okay, so my health, my career, my finances, my relationships, my contributions, and they all lead in, and there are others obviously, but they lead into happiness into this room called happiness, which is sort of a feedback loop. If one area, for example, if your finances are in a really shocking state, it's very hard to be happy. If you can fix up your finances, for better or worse, you actually look at what they are and you get yourself organised with a good budget and you sort it, then it feeds into your happiness room and helps that to grow, basically. And also the happier you are with yourself means that you are feeling strong enough to actually do that, to look at the cold hard facts and say, hey, this could be improved, or I've got to be a bit more careful here, or I've got to earn a bit more there, or hey, I'm fine, and lighten up and just enjoy a wee bit more along the way. So you see what I mean? That it's by measuring in those areas, it gives you a baseline to work from. Don't forget, it's always about progress and not perfection. There is no way I am aiming to be a 10 on everything in 1 year. And frankly, if I get to being a 10, it just means that I have to level up and start measuring myself at a higher standard. Ask more of myself if I really do think I've got to 10. So that's where you feel like you're getting yourself on track for the new year. And this is where you build your vision. This is where you take your best self and you look at the year and you say, how would I be as my best self in that year? And you think, well, I don't know what I want. If you're there, go back as far as you need to go to find a place where you had that pure joy and you played. For me, when I look back, I mean, I was the much younger child in a big family, and they were all much older than I was. So I was at home with my mother on my own, and we were in the country. We didn't have children. I didn't have children around to play with, and for me, some of my happiest times were playing in the roots of an old pine tree, building houses and villages. Can you believe it? Me at 3, this is my life. And I loved that world. It was exciting there. I had a whole world developed there. And the little pebble people who lived there were very happy. We had a good time. You know, they went to school on the big pebble bus and they moved around and they went shopping in the little houses I made tucked under the roots and things, the little shop. And some lived on farms up and over the big looping roots, and they had to trek up and over the hill. I mean, these pebble people and I were very busy. It was a very nice place to live. It was not, you know, full of princesses and unicorns. It was definitely real life. What a pragmatic child I must have been. Is it really any surprise that even today, for me, the fulfillment that comes from making a home, for helping other people make homes, is real, because it's about as core to my happiness as I can get. And that means that by helping other people to do it, it then feeds into all of those other parts of my life. That affects my career and my finances, and that definitely affects my happiness, and it's good for building relationships, and I think it is a contribution. So you see what I mean? My vision can affect every room of my life. So that's sort of getting the foundation right. When do you find time to play? You're busy in your career. Well, that's what a lot of this year is going to be about. I'm going to show you how I keep my life pretty well automated. I clean the way my grandmother probably cleaned. It's called zone cleaning now, but believe me, there is nothing new under the sun, and it's just a sensible way of going about making sure every part of your house gets pretty well cleaned and tidied at least once a month. The same with finances. How do I budget? How do I keep an eye on my life and make sure that I don't, let that run out of control? I'll also share my bullet journal process, which is how I run my day-to-day life. And believe me, it is the most simple bullet journal out there. If you Google or search YouTube for bullet journal, you're going to see some incredibly creative and very complex, and not me at all, highly decorated and organised things, and that's not what I'm about, so I hesitate to say bullet journal. And for meal planning, that's also really important for me to automate that, because I am the worst. I will walk in at the end of the day and I'll think, oh, what am I going to eat? And if I haven't organised it, then it will be an egg and a microwave egg probably. And really, life is better than a microwave egg. Good though my microwave eggs are. Having said that, it is still much nicer to have something often already put in the fridge. And I do this, I use the mason jars and pack salads and good crunchy food into them. So if I'm absolutely pushed and I cannot think of making anything, at least I can just empty a jar and put some, tuna with it or some cheese. Bam, I've got a meal. So you see where I'm going with this, that the automating things allow me to do this, to have my job and enjoy it, and also to leave room for this part, for the play, because it lifts you, it lightens your heart. And I think that that's actually the definition of a life well lived in some ways. I mean, yes, productive work, that's certainly a big part of it, but the ability to play and the knowledge that play gives you energy. And I mean, a good laugh in itself is something amazing. Saying yes to things in life is fun. And by the way, I've sort of stolen this from Shonda Rhimes, who wrote her autobiography called A Year of Yes, or The Year of Yes, which I think I've spoken about before. And she's the brilliant creator of and writer of Grey's Anatomy and Private Practice and How to Get Away with Murder, these huge TV series. And she had to teach herself to say yes, and she had to teach herself to remember how to play. So here's to Shonda Rhimes. So if you think that sounds like fun, then please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you think it sounds like a good idea to say hey yes when somebody says want to play. And I hope whatever you're doing today and this week, in this first week of a brand shiny new year, you're having a wonderful time, and I will see you soon. Bye.